Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 63 of the Super Grapple Bros podcast. I am your one and only host for this week, Murpho. This is the podcast about two brothers who are former WWE employees that like to talk about video games and wrestling and video games. I am solo today, and there's going to be an announcement regarding what's going to be going on with the podcast going forward for the next few weeks or maybe even a couple months. D-Murph is out this week, and he's out for the rest of September. He picked up a new job where he's basically working 12-hour days, 7 days a week for a temp, potentially going to permanent position. So, yeah, that's going to have some impact on the podcast, stuff like that, which I will announce and give all details on that later. But that's the reason why I am by myself today. So yeah, we're going to get into it. This is the All-In review show. All-In, for those of you who do or may not know, is that little pay-per-view event, that little event to where Cody Rhodes was challenged to fill an arena of 10,000 people to see a show for him. And so he and the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega, basically, it was mostly him and the Young Bucks, organized and put together this show in Chicago at the Sears Arena. So they put that on, and that happened last week. I picked up a subscription for New Japan World and got to watch it over the weekend, so I am going to be reviewing it here. Then we're going to be going over Raw and SmackDown. Then we're going to talk about some gaming news. Some games dropped this week as we're entering the fall gaming season. And then we're going to wrap things up at the end there. So first off, I want to start with the review of All In. And my first implications, my first things I want to say is like, oh my God, was that a good show? I loved All In. I thought it was great. It was a shame that the main event ended up getting cut short because a couple things ran over time. And there were a couple things that I have some criticisms of. But overall, I thought it was great. It was a great show. It was a great night for wrestling, and I am excited for what comes next from Cody, the Bucks, and this kind of almost collaboration from all these different organizations in wrestling. It felt like just a celebration of wrestling and wrestling fans, this show. So before I get too much into it, I just want to tap into the live chat here on Twitch. I want to say hi to Footballers, Chelsea, and Utah Street, who are in the chat. Footballers on All In says that it was probably the most fun he ever had watching a wrestling show. I don't know if it was the most fun I've ever had watching a wrestling show, but I did have a ton of fun watching this show. I did not catch the first two matches that were like the 0 hour on WGN. However, I'll give the results. SoCal Uncensored defeated the Briscoe brothers. The Briscoes went for the Doomsday Device, but Frank Kazarian was able to counter into a slam mid-move to win the opening contest. Then Flip Gordon was a surprise entrant. He was wearing a mask, and then you thought he was eliminated, but he actually wasn't, and he was outside all the way. And then it looked like Bully Ray had won the Battle Royal, and Flip Gordon instead came in, unmasked, dumped Billy Ray, and he won a shot at the ROH World Championship later in the night against Jay Lethal. So that was what happened on the pre-show. Then once we get into the beginning of the show, M-Dog Matt Cross beat MJF with a shooting star press. It was an okay match. It was an alright opener. Not necessarily a hot opener. But it was alright. Matt Cross, for those of you who don't know, he was the guy who had worked in the indies. This was about 10 years ago on Tough Enough. That was the one where Cameron emerged. Apologies, I don't know why I'm yawning. I got a full night's sleep last night. So he faced MJF. He beat him with a shooting star press. MJF, I liked his character, his persona. This was my first time seeing Matt Cross in an actual match. This is my first time seeing MJF in general. Nothing really surprised me too much. But yeah, it was a match. It was there. It wasn't terrible. It wasn't too bad. And so we move on. Just really quick though, Footballers says that Flip probably got the second biggest pop of the night when he won the Battle Royal. And I will get to Chelsea. You want to know what I thought about something that happened in the show? I will bring that up when we get to it. When I reach that part on the show. The second match was Christopher Daniels versus Stephen Amell. That was an all right match. Stephen Amell, for somebody who's like a quote unquote celebrity who's green, did really well. He this is probably one of the better celebrity matches, or one of the best celebrity matches you will probably see in the history of wrestling. That said, Amell did show that he was kind of green. You know, this is his first, I think, singles match, only his third wrestling match ever. But props to him for going through the table and taking the abuse that he did. That like his elbow drop, missing elbow drop to the outside through the table looked gross. And Christopher Daniels took the win, but he shook hands with Amell, raised his hands afterwards. It was an entertaining match. It was pretty good. Jerry Lynn as a special guest referee was pretty cool. But yeah, it was pretty good. Pretty good. Nothing else really to say there. Amell is such a mark, says Footballers. It's good. I like celebrities who are marks. We need more celebrities who are marks. See, speaking of celebrities who are marks, I believe it was John Mayer was actually in the front row of the audience for All In, which was also pretty cool. The third match was the sole women's match of the night, and I thought it was actually really good, solid, cool women's wrestling in there. It was Tessa Blanchard versus Chelsea Green, Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, and Madison Rayne. Tennille Dashwood, WWE fans will remember her as Emma, and Mandy Leon were on commentary. Tessa Blanchard ended up winning with a hammerlock DDT onto Chelsea Green. It was a good match. I've only seen Tessa Blanchard before this event because she's done some NXT stuff. I believe she might have been in the Mae Young Classic, but I know that she's done a couple of NXT stuff. This is my first time seeing Britt Baker, Chelsea Green, Madison Rayne. It was all really good, really solid stuff, and I feel like these women need to be targeted by WWE to be brought into NXT or the women's division. Obviously Tessa Blanchard, but Chelsea Green also. I really liked Chelsea Green. Apparently, Chelsea had this persona when she was in Impact known as the Scorned Bride, where she was basically crazy, but she almost came out in like a Two-Face kind of situation where she had split her look in half down the middle. So she was half that psycho nut job and half like her babyface persona. So it was almost like a Two-Face kind of character. And I actually really, really liked that. I loved that character. And I would like to see her use that character more going forward in whatever matches she does with whatever programs. And I feel like a gimmick like that would be amazing in WWE. I would love to see WWE give Chelsea Green a look, maybe bring her in and be like, hey, that gimmick that you had where you combined your gimmicks into like a Two-Face persona and All In, let's do that, because that would be awesome. So solid match. I really enjoyed it. That was the highlight of the night to date, but the true highlight of the night, which I think probably should have been the main event, was the NWA World's Championship match where Cody faced off against Nick Aldis. And man, was this a good, this was a good story given what the championship means to Cody and the legacy of the Rhodes family. Nick Aldis, I gotta say, I'm not too big on him. I don't think he did that great in this match here. I think Cody kind of carried the match, if I was to say anything. But man, the end of the match, the back and forth, I liked the near falls. The involvement of DDP hitting a diamond cutter on Daivari was awesome. I liked that Cody sold that he might actually be hurt and might not be able to continue. I liked the story. The wrestling wasn't great for the match, and I think that's more on Aldis. It was still good and entertaining. The story, though, to the match and the emotion that was in the match between the two men, Aldis not wanting to lose the championship, Cody wanting to live up to the legacy of his father and achieve the same goals of as his father. That story they told through the wrestling, that was amazing. That was incredible. And the finish was amazing. It was, a lot of people say it was the Bulldog Bret Hart finish of SummerSlam, but it was also a Dusty finish. Allegedly, apparently, from what I have learned, this was also the same exact way that attempted sunset flip pin into just the cover reversal. That is apparently the same way that Dusty won his first NWA World's Championship. So it was amazing. I literally gotta say, like, this should have been the main event in my eyes, because this was what everybody wanted to see. Everybody wanted to see Cody do this, because Cody is such a great human being. He is such a good person. He is one of the people, I wouldn't go so far as to say like Cody and I are friends, because we were more work associates. But whenever I got to be in the same room with him in WWE backstage, he was one of the few people outside of maybe the New Day and maybe like the Miz and Dolph Ziggler, where when I was around them talking with them, it felt like I was almost I felt completely comfortable talking to him. It didn't feel awkward. It didn't feel like there was some like almost like this division between superstar and regular employee. He just felt like a normal person that I could just talk to about all different kinds of things, talk about anything. We gushed backstage once about how excited, because he's a big Star Wars fan. We talked about I was backstage the night that the Force Awakens trailer dropped. And we talked about like our reactions to that, being major Star Wars fans, and just being able to have somebody backstage that I could just talk to and connect on stuff like that was amazing. And also just speaks to how great of a person Cody Rhodes is. And to see him not just accomplish this show, but to watch him win that championship and have that kind of emotion, it was like, I gotta admit myself, and I'm even doing it a little bit right now, I teared up watching it, because he works his ass off for everything, and he deserved this win. He deserved this moment. And he deserved the success that was All In. So I had to fight back tears when I saw that pin and saw that finish and saw him celebrate with the championship. And I just want to congratulate Cody on the big success of not just winning the NWA World's Championship, but on the success of All In as a whole. And I really do hope one day I do get to, I haven't talked to Cody, because again, we were more work associates, but I haven't talked to him or seen him in person since he left WWE. I really hope one day I get to see him again, so I can just, catch up with him and congratulate him on everything he's done. So it's just, it's such a feel-good story for wrestling. And I really hope that everything continues to go positive and well for Cody, and that this is a great building block for him to, or jumping off point for him into a whole new different realm of possibilities. Putting the NWA World's Heavyweight Championship on him just elevates that championship. It makes it relevant again. I feel like this is the first time since maybe the Attitude Era, if you want to say, when Dan Severn appeared on Raw, but potentially maybe not since the 80s, that the NWA World's Championship, this old school legacy championship, feels legitimate and relevant again. And I really hope that he can carry that championship and have some insane title defenses with it and make it this put it on the pedestal that like it used to be. It's great to see him be able to capture the championship that his daddy won and be able to elevate the championship that was so synonymous with both his father and also with Ric Flair back in the day. And I'm so happy for him. I'm so excited. This was the feel good, amazing high point of the show to me. Going back, let's just touch base with the live chat right here. Uter Street believes that the finish to the NWA title match was beautiful. Footballers agrees that him winning the title instantly elevated it to levels it hasn't been at in a long time, which is what I was just talking about exactly. He agreed that it was a nice touch for the finish. The fact that it was like a callback to the way his father won the title. He said that all the guys that I had mentioned who were people that I interacted with while backstage, that they were all stand-up guys. Yuta Street said that he got to meet Cody a couple times. He was one of the nicest, realest guys I've ever met in the wrestling business. I agree with that 100%. Brandy is also really chill, by the way, because I gotta mention Brandy. Brandy also is very chill, awesome, cool, and laid back. She is a really cool chick. Footballer says that Cody deserves all the success he has and more. I agree with that. Yuta Street got Cody to sign his IC title, and he told him the whole story how he finally convinced Vince to bring the retro title back, which is awesome. So yeah. That's all from the chat. We're gonna move on from this match, but again, I feel like this was the emotional high point of the entire show. I feel like it would have been great if the show ended on this, but then again, in its defense, the fact that the show ran long means that it's kind of good when you think about it. In the end, that this match was in the middle of the card because it didn't have to get cut short, which is great. Then after that, we had one brutal, disgusting, odd, ridiculous match next, which I didn't know what to make of half of it, which is the Chicago street fight between Adam Hangman Page and Joey Janela. And I gotta say, Joey Janela is goddamn crazy. He is psychotic with the kinds of hardcore bumps that he is willing to take. I legitimately thought he died twice in this match. There was the moment when Hangman Page picked him up and powerbomb and tried to chuck him down the stairs, but Janela didn't set the tables close enough, and so he like half hit the front table. It didn't break and like fell straight onto the floor. I thought he was freaking dead. And then on top of that, the finish, like, Jesus Christ, the rites of passage off the ladder through the table. I thought when Page hit it, I thought almost that I was like, he's not protecting his head. He's not protecting his neck. His head's going to go straight through the table and onto, but thank God it was safe enough to where it didn't. But oh my God, was that terrifying. Holy crap. It was almost the kind of hardcore where I would say like it's dangerous and terrifying, and it's almost the kind of hardcore that makes me cringe and almost feel like you're doing a little too much for the sake of trying to get notoriety and not taking care of your body. I feel like it was almost a little too dangerous. But the match itself and the wrestling and everything and the storyline and the character that Hangman Page had, the use of the boots, the haunted cowboy boots was amazing. It was a great match. I just feel, and the spots that they did were insane. I don't think they need to go as insane as they did. And they probably could have played a little safer with some of the hardcore stuff, but it was still great. And then I think another one of the highlights after that, which I just wrestling. The only thing that can just symbolize what happened next was just wrestling. This was wrestling at its most craziest, insane, and probably best. And I can't believe what happened. So for those of you who don't know the story behind this match, or leading into this match, was that Joey Ryan had been murdered with a telephone, which was also later used in the match as Hangman Page used it to strangle and bash Joey Janela in order to be able for him to hit the rite of passage off the ladder through the table. It was a mystery for a long time, and then Hangman Page finally admitted it was him. And then it seemed like he was being haunted and was convinced to do it by these cowboy boots. And it was just all kinds of crazy nonsense wrestling storytelling. And after he won, Joey Ryan's music hit, Well, actually, Joey Ryan's music didn't hit. Instead, it was almost like this Undertaker-ish druid-like music started playing. And we got penis druids. 10 guys, about 10 to 12 guys, I think it was, or maybe 8 to 12, somewhere in that range, in penis suits with druid chanting as their music came out onto the stage. And then Joey Ryan's music hit. And Joey Ryan came out, risen from the dead, resurrected, and surrounded by penis druids. He is a penis Undertaker, apparently. And just, this is when I say to you guys, like, All In is a celebration of all things wrestling and the wrestling fan. This is a primary example of that, because this is the kind of ridiculous nonsense that only gets over in wrestling. And I love it. It's extreme, it's ridiculous, it's insane, but I love it. And Joey Ryan came out, went out, put all the baby oil all over him, did his penis drag to Paige, hit him with the U-pornplex, and then the penis druids gathered Paige, who is laid out almost crucifix style, like arms wide, and took him to the back. Just wrestling. This was the most wrestling. This match was arguably the most wrestling thing when it comes to ridiculousness and just hardcoreness. Like, this almost felt like an homage to the Attitude Era. Pretty much. Like an Attitude Era throwback. Like something you would see from WWE in the 90s, in the late 90s. But it was great. It was glorious. Exactly. Like Yuta Street said, this match was pretty much, can be summed up by because wrestling. I'm pretty sure, actually, when I watched this match, that's pretty much what I was saying to myself when the penis druids come out. Just because wrestling. Just wrestling. After that, we got more like because wrestling type stuff, because it was time for the ROH World Championship match of Jay Lethal versus Flip Gordon. We had a shot of regular Jay Lethal in the back, walking back and forth, preparing, and then a hand came into the frame with Macho Man glasses. He held it up curiously, and then he got smacked on the chest, and immediately he transformed into his mannerisms became different, and then the music came out. He came out with Lanny Poffo, Randy Savage's brother, as Black Machismo, his Macho Man Randy Savage tribute character, and it was amazing. He came out, he was doing all the mannerisms. He gave the Mega Powers handshake to, I believe it was Lanny, and I think to Flip at the beginning of the match. And it was just, again, it was just because wrestling. I think my favorite moment was like the Mega Powers exploding moment where Brandy was with Flip Gordon ringside, and Macho and Jay Lethal channeling Macho Man for some reason mistook and thought in his warped mind as Black Machismo that Brandy Rhodes was Elizabeth. And so he kept trying to drag her, like pull her to his corner, and she would leave and he'd get her. And then she came into the ring. She's like, I am not Liz. I am not Liz. And he picks her up and holds her over his shoulder as if it, like after WrestleMania, I believe it was 8 where it was that with the whole thing with Sensational Sherry, and I can't remember who it was who he faced. I think it was Jake the Snake or Ultimate Warrior. But he puts her down, and then she's like, I'm not Liz, and hits him across the chest, and he immediately snaps out of it and goes right back to regular Jay Lethal. That was amazing. I love character and story stuff like that. Just great. And then him and Flip, I will say the only criticism I have about this is as amazing as the Black Machismo stuff was, and the Randy Savage like homage stuff was. I will say it did kind of almost undercut Flip Gordon's story, because because Flip Gordon had such a huge pop and had everything behind him, and then almost like that momentum got like the wind completely taken out of it by the Black Machismo thing. I think it might have been better if we had a more brutal, angrier, like normal Jay Lethal. But then again, also on the other hand, what they did do with Black Machismo was amazing. Jay Lethal did eventually win. He got changed back into Black Machismo by getting slapped again across the chest by Lanny Poffo, and then went for like 3 different elbow drops, and then Flip Gordon actually like hulked up, but Lethal did hit the springboard cutter and ended up winning. Retained the championship. Bully Ray came out to attack both of them because he felt he got screwed over. And then Colt Cabana, who got eliminated by Bully Ray before Bully got eliminated by Flip, came out and made the save. And then he got triple powerbomb Shield style through a table by all 3 men, which was pretty cool. Then we're going to move on to what I believe was the second best match of the night. Like Cody winning the NWA Championship is probably the best moment and best story told and the emotional high point of the match. I feel like this match and the match that followed were the wrestling high points of the match. Kenny Omega versus Penta El Zero was great. They kicked out of multiple like finishers. The V-triggers that Kenny Omega hit on Penta were just disgusting. The wrestling quality in this match was insane. I loved how Penta El Zero was able to reverse 3, if not 4, one-wing Angels, which definitely made sure that he did not look bad going up against the IWGP World Heavyweight Champion. And then finally it just got to the point to where Kenny just hit, I believe it was like a V-trigger, a Poison Rana, reverse Rana, hit another V-trigger while Penta El Zero was like on the ropes or something. I think maybe even to the back of the head. And then finally was able to hit the one-wing Angel for the win, which was awesome. And then the power went out. And at first I'm like, okay, so some tomfoolery was here. Some people thought it meant that that CM Punk was going to show up. However, it wasn't. The lights were out for a long time. And the lights were out for so long, I legitimately actually thought there might have been technical difficulties. And I was like, oh no, please no. Forgetting that I'm watching this on demand on New Japan World. And like, they probably would take that out if it actually happened live. And then the lights came back. And Penta El Zero was still laying where he was. Only it wasn't Penta El Zero. He got up, ran right after Kenny, and hit a code breaker. And it was Chris mother effing Jericho. Chris Jericho. And you notice it before he takes out the mask because you see the tattoo and you're like, that's not Penta's tats. That's Jericho's tats. And Jericho takes off the mask, hits another code breaker, gets the mic and says, Kenny Omega, I'll see you on the Jericho cruise. And the crowd popped huge. It was an awesome moment. And getting Jericho on there, I will say this. Having Jericho on there, having guys like Lanny Poffo on there, DDP, like former NWA champions, friends of the Rhodes family, Tommy Dreamer. This helped make this show feel almost like the indie WrestleMania. Like New Japan has Wrestle Kingdom. That's New Japan's like WrestleMania type show. And, you know, WrestleMania is WrestleMania, but this felt like almost like a WrestleMania type thing for just all of wrestling. Just the only people that weren't included were WWE, like guys who are currently working for WWE, with exception to maybe Jericho. Because Jericho still has that kind of, I guess he can come back whenever he wants. And then I guess, you know, they're working out on a deal with Ray Ray. But this felt like almost like a WrestleMania caliber show with all the ridiculousness that was going on. The emotional highs, the wrestling highs, the insane spots, people going all out, the legends making appearances. Like this had the feel of something huge, something big. And Jericho just helped cement that even more if it wasn't like in your mind at that point of the show. And I also will say, Jericho, yes, he is great, as Yuta Street said. And I like the fact that he's actually growing his hair out. It's actually kind of nice to see Jericho with his hair growing out again. The next match, though, after that is the match that I think was the match of the night. I loved this match. It was Kazuchika, I just butchered his name, Kazuchika Okada versus Marty Scurll. And I'll say this much. I've always kind of liked Marty Scurll. I've liked his look. I've liked kind of his character. But his wrestling has always kind of left me a little wanting. I was kind of like, I'm like, yeah, it's kind of cool. He's kind of cool, but he hasn't had that moment where he just cemented his place in wrestling and in the I guess the non-WWE world. Even though he's been a Bullet Club member for a long time, this match changed it. This was Marty Scurll's moment. This was his coming out party because he went toe-to-toe with Okada. They blew the roof off the place. They were insane. It was ridiculous. I loved the spot where Okada went for the Rainmaker and Scurll just opened up the umbrella. That was awesome. Just the wrestling, the finishes, the intensity of the ending was just on point. And then it took not one but two Rainmakers in order to hit the to put Scurll down for good, which is huge for Scurll, who's a junior heavyweight in New Japan. Like a junior heavyweight to be able to go up against a heavyweight such as Okada, the longest reigning IW or greatest IWGP like champion arguably ever, and one of the longest reigning, if not the longest reigning. I think he has a record for longest reigning, but I don't have that information like on hand for me to fact check myself, so I'm just gonna say I think so, possibly one of. That is a big deal in New Japan, and I am all aboard the Marty Scurll train. If you have not watched any of All In, this is the match that you have to watch. Okada versus Scurll. Definitely make sure you catch it. Then after that, we had the main event of the evening, which was the Young Bucks and Kota Ibushi, aka the Golden Elite, versus Rey Mysterio, Bandito, and Rey Fenix. And it kind of sucks that it was so short, that it had to be cut short because they had to finish everything. They literally finished with 3 seconds to spare before they got cut off by Fight TV. But I think the thing that can be said about this match is how good each of these men are. The fact they were able to take the situation and still condense it into a fast-paced, fun, entertaining match and get it done with 3 seconds to spare. I think that speaks to how good they all are and speaks to the professionalism and the caliber of how these 6 men perform. And it was still a really good match. The ending was a little mostly because I think it was Phoenix or Bandito or whoever it was maybe wasn't supposed to break up that pin because of the fact they were running so close, so they just immediately hit a Meltzer driver for a pin. So that was a little awkward, but given the situation, I can understand. And yeah, the show went off the air, but then after the fact, Cody came out with all the kids. Not all the kids, with all the Bucks and everybody, and they said, thank you so much. Like, this was amazing. Hopefully this is just the beginning. Like, stuff along those lines. They teased maybe a second All In, which after this, I feel like there has to be a second All In. I don't, and I believe I said this to D Murph. I can't remember. I know I've said it to myself. I think I said this actually to a couple of my coworkers at NBC Sports. I told them, after watching all of this, I don't believe that this is it. I don't believe that Cody, Kenny, or the Young Bucks are going to WWE. Not for a while. Unless they're throwing so much money it makes their head spin and they get mega pushes. I think this is the beginning of something new. I think this is the beginning of some sort of new wrestling revolution where all of these different organizations will maybe be coming together and becoming more prevalent by using each other's talent to become something more, and potentially all together combined maybe rival the WWE a little bit and actually elevate and make wrestling even more popular and more cool. This really felt like the beginning of something new, the beginning of some sort of revolution. And I can't believe that Cody and the Bucks and them will throw that away in 4 months, 3 or 4 months, because they get a deal with they get a contract offer with WWE. But we'll see. In short, All In was just an incredible event. I loved it. I may have to go back and watch it again. Just so great. Again, congrats to the Bucks. Congrats to Cody. They deserve all the success that comes from this. I really hope that they do something like this again, maybe even a bigger venue. And this kind of a collaboration like this makes me really excited for the G1 Climax WrestleMania weekend, and it's making me very, very tempted to see if I can get a ticket to that event in Madison Square Garden. So yeah, All In was great. It was awesome. It was memorable. Big Stupid's in the chat. Hello to him. I have not done the announcement yet. I'm going to get to it at the end of the show. Before we move on to WWE things, Big Stupid does have some has a comment with regards to what I was talking about with Cody and the Bucks. He said, I can see that instead of saying it's New Japan versus WWE or ROH versus WWE, have everybody just band together and show there's more than just WWE. Exactly. That's what that felt like to me. That's what All In felt like. It felt like the coming together of all these different organizations being like, hey, wrestling isn't just WWE. There are all these groups that have all these amazing people in it. And so maybe you should watch our big events, or maybe even just check out our organizations as well. Wrestling is a much bigger world than just WWE. However, speaking of WWE, let's talk a little bit about WWE this week. I didn't get to catch really much of NXT or 205 Live, so I'm going to leave those off this week, unfortunately. I want to talk about Raw and SmackDown. And while All In was such a high, I feel like Raw was an insane low this week. I was disappointed with just about almost everything I saw on Raw this week. Kevin Owens quitting lasted for 1 week, and he came back to start a rivalry with Bobby Lashley. I understand the story they're telling. It's for Sami Zayn. He was trying to lure Bobby into a false sense of security, but it was bad. Bobby Lashley cannot cut a promo. He is not a good face. He is a terrible face. He needs to be this. He can't be this smiling kind of guy. He has to be this like badass. And they're not doing that with him. Maybe this Kevin Owens thing will change his character, but that was really disappointing there. Then it got solidified that yes, Braun Strowman had turned heel on the Shield, and the Shield got arrested, which was meh. Braun Strowman went full heel, which makes no goddamn sense. I just don't care anymore about Braun Strowman. I like at least his character where he is right now. I think it's cool to see him teamed up with these three guys, but the story just doesn't leave me invested. I feel like it would have been much better for Braun's character, the way that he's been built the last year, to just have him face the Shield 3-on-1, head on, and maybe overcome all three of them. I guess maybe you're trying to protect the three guys of the Shield, but it just, I don't know. And then at the end of the show, the Shield came out. Well, actually, let me get to more stuff involving these groups. Then they took the Revival's big push that it seems like they were finally going to get and just destroyed it. Because apparently this rivalry between the Shield and Strowman, Ziggler, and McIntyre needed to have all of the championships from Raw, sans the women's title, which I don't want to speak too soon because maybe that'll get involved somehow now as well. Apparently all the championships on Raw have to be tied up into this single rivalry because they decided that McIntyre and Ziggler were going to destroy the Revival, get a tag title match against a B team, and destroy the B team and take the tag titles. They just buried the Revival and the B team in one night just to try and build up this one storyline. The Chelsea in the chat is bringing up the Kevin Owens Paul Heyman thing. That was rumors. That wasn't that actually wasn't confirmed. That's not happening. Big Stupid with regards to Braun Strowman said, or if you're going to turn him heel, then after the beatdown, have him cash in. Yeah, exactly. Footballer says, yeah, the next thing you know, Dean will be women's champ. No, next thing, I wouldn't be surprised if it turned out that like Alexa Bliss joins Strowman and them, and then Ronda joins the Shield. I just don't think it's good that you're taking all the championships and putting them into the same rivalry. And then the night, the segment with Elias and Alexa was kind of cringeworthy. The Bellas came back, which was interesting. That was interesting, kind of cool. The one good thing that I saw out on Raw, the one positive thing I can say about Raw was that it looked like they are going to be they have started planting the seeds and teasing Nikki Bella versus Ronda Rousey for the Women's Championship at Evolution, Raw Women's Championship at Evolution, because they had a promo backstage and Nikki was saying, if you ever need anything, you know, we're this, we're that. They did a little bit of bragging to Ronda, but Ronda was just being nice, so I'm just waiting for that other shoe to drop from Nikki and Nikki to be the heel against Ronda. And then they ended the night. Another thing, actually, that before I get to the end of the night, that made me think, why? What is the point of this? What are you doing? Drake Maverick who is the 205 Live general manager, came out in riot gear with the Authors of Pain and has revealed that he is now their manager, in addition to being the 205 Live general manager. What is going on? Like Drake Maverick was doing well in the role that he did. He's not the kind of person that I feel like fits with the Authors of Pain. It makes no sense to me. Why wait for, like, get him kicked out as GM, then maybe have him move on to being a manager? Like, maybe you're trying to sow the seeds of maybe Drake Maverick doesn't want to be the GM or doesn't really value cruiserweights or something, but like it's so weird, and he looks so out of place next to Akam and Razor. Like, I wish Paul Ellering would still be with them. And if you can't get Paul Ellering, because say Paul Ellering doesn't want to do the travel anymore, he's too old and whatnot, it's fine, but just find somebody else. I feel like Drake Maverick doesn't fit in that mix. It didn't work at all to me. It looked weird. Just literally just scratching my head over it. I don't get it. How do you do that? How do you do that as a joke? They went out and they squashed these two guys. If they were going to do it as a joke, Akam and Razor should have murdered Drake Maverick after the fact. But yeah, that was a thing. And then the show ended with Strowman, Ziggler, and McIntyre cutting a promo, beating up on Finn Balor after Balor had a match with Strowman, which was okay. But then the Shield came back in the police car. And came out of the police car and then went to get ready to go after those three when they got attacked by every heel on the roster. And Now, the first complaint I have before I get to the whole heel thing, the heels attacking the Shield together, is that why is it that if they were arrested, and I think Corbin might have had something to do with it, why would the lighting and music people decide to play the Shield's Tron, play their lighting effects, and play their music? Like, when Austin, like, maybe if they had beaten down the three of them and were standing tall, then maybe. But, like, when Austin did the beer truck, and when Angle did the milk truck, their music didn't hit as they drove those vehicles to the ring. Like Utah Street said, it's sounding like WCW by the end of their run before they went out of business. And also, I don't understand why all the heels are helping them. All heels are supposed to be like jerks who don't trust one another. And the first heel that was out there to attack the Shield was Kevin Owens, who just finished a rivalry with Braun Strowman and was talking about how that guy brutalized him and about how much he hated him. And yet he's the first one to help him attack the Shield out of the group of heels that came out of the back. What is going on? We came out of SummerSlam and everything seemed like it was going great. And then the Shield return was awesome. And then with Strowman even like attacking on them, it's like that could work if you write it right. And just, I feel like this week's Raw was just a massive dropping of the ball. It was as if they had the ball in their hands, but then the ball turned to this stone material that was thousands of pounds in weight or something. And not only did they drop it, but it fell through the earth. There needs to be some serious course correction going into Hell in a Cell. I can definitely buy the Shield versus Strowman, McIntyre Ziggler rivalry. I can buy it. But right now it's not being written very well. They're being written as cowards, kind of. And just look at how Strowman is. It's contradictory to Strowman's character. So, as we've known him since he's been introduced, it's contradictory to Ziggler. To maybe not Ziggler so much because he technically hid behind Drew, but it's contrary to Drew's character. What we saw from Kevin Owens was contrary to Kevin Owens' character. And like Utah Street says, there needs to be consistency. And I feel like this episode of Raw shows that WWE sometimes just will throw out consistency just to change things. And sometimes they just don't care about consistency. Consistency only matters, it seems, sometimes only when it's relevant or when they want things to be consistent. So. Yeah, exactly. Like Big Stupid said, you go into All In, and All In is basically everything you love about wrestling, and then you watch Raw. And it's not like it's not like it was a regular Raw and you saw the difference. This was just a bad Raw. Because the last two Raws before this were good. Last week's Raw was good. The week before that was amazing. It just really stood out more. I think the fact that All In happened this weekend made Raw look even more worse. But yeah, there's a lot of ship writing that has to be done on Raw. One other thing I just want to point out before I move over to SmackDown, it appears that Dana Brooke is moving away from Titus Worldwide, which I guess is a good thing. It looks like Dana's become a much better pro wrestler in the last year from her matches, and the Titus Worldwide thing isn't going anywhere, so maybe her striking out on her own will be good for her. But moving on to SmackDown. SmackDown was not nearly anywhere near as bad as Raw. SmackDown was good from what I saw. The Jeff Hardy and Randy Orton had some promos for their Hell in a Cell match, and what I thought was originally going to be a really good, oh yeah, that's right. I'll get to that. I'll get back to something else I forgot about. That happened on Raw in a second. The Randy Orton and Jeff Hardy promos they showed, I gotta say, it doesn't seem like they're as into it, and I really don't understand why they kept cutting in the packages to Orton putting his finger in the holes, the gauge holes in Jeff's ear and pulling on it. I mean, yeah, that's gotta hurt, but like they were making it sound like it was the most sick, twisted, sadistic thing that you could do to somebody. Um, and it really isn't. Like, yeah, it looks painful. Kind of makes me cringe a little bit, but like they wanted to make it look like Randy Orton was this despicable, horrible character, and like then you show footage of him just putting his finger in Jeff Hardy's ear and pouring water over his face. It's like we've seen Randy Orton do far, far worse. And I guess that just hurts the promos and hurts the feel of the rivalry. I still have hopes for the match, and maybe they can do some cool things afterwards. But just the build up right now just hasn't been too great. Going back over to Raw though, there was a promo that I want to talk about, and some people believe that something might happen. Shawn Michaels came out and cut a promo with regards to Undertaker and Triple H's match in Australia. And Undertaker actually responded, actually came out, was at Raw, and said to Triple H, was talking about how he retired him and how he's just saying these things because he couldn't beat him at WrestleMania twice. And Shawn Michaels said, I have stayed retired because out of respect for you, out of respect for the fans, out of respect for the WWE. And Undertaker says, no, you've stayed retired out of fear because if you were ever going to come back for one more match, it would be against me, and you're afraid that you would lose again. So they almost kind of teased that they might try to do Michaels versus Undertaker 3, which I don't know if I'm big on it because the guys these guys are getting so old that I hate to say this about The Undertaker and Shawn Michaels, but they might be getting so old that like it might be I don't know if they'll be able to match the two matches they had at 25 and 26. So those are on such high bars, and do you really want to toy with that? From a storyline perspective, I could see it working. Like Shawn Michaels saying, I'm going to come back for just one more match against you, Undertaker. You retired me last time. If I win, you have to retire. And then Shawn Michaels maybe finally wins, gets one over on Undertaker, and then Undertaker can retire. So that way they both technically retired each other. That would be like kind of poetic in a way. But like I just don't know what the quality of the match is going to be. And it just makes me worried just because those two other matches, they're all-time great matches. And I'm worried that if they do a third match, it might slightly tarnish maybe what they did before, but we'll see. We'll see where this goes. I'm willing to wait it out and see how it develops, and if it happens, maybe judge the match on its own merits. So yeah. Back over to SmackDown. Rusev Day did win their triple threat tag match against Sanity and the Usos. It was a good finish. Rusev got a sneak tag in on the Usos. And then he was able to hit the Machka kick on Eric Young after Eric Young tried to steal the match, but he was saved by Aiden English, and Aiden English saved Rusev from one of the Usos just before that, and they got the win. So it's great storytelling because it's showing that Aiden English is finally actually proving his worth to Rusev and making the saves and actually not screwing up. So it's really cool from seeing the evolution of these two and the storyline of this tag team and this duo and trio if you count Lana. So I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed that match, and we will be getting now the Bar versus Rusev Day for the winner goes on to face the New Day for the tag titles. I think it might be the Bar that wins, so we get heel versus face, but it could be Rusev Day. And I think maybe Aiden English is going to turn on Rusev, but whether we see that next week or at the title match, we'll see. But that match next week will be very interesting. Then we had a really, really good promo between Charlotte and Becky Lynch. They had them both sitting they were both on the Tron, but on separate cameras, and talking, answering questions from I believe it was Tom Phillips about the rivalry and the banter between them. You could feel it, and it was so good. And like, Becky's anger and frustration sounded real, and Charlotte put in some really great, made some really great points with what she was saying. It was like, you were okay with this before, and then I won, and then you had a problem with it. And, I've always given you a great chance. I've always been a good friend to you, and now you just snapped because you can't handle the fact that I can actually win my matches. And it was just great. Charlotte has always been good, but Becky Lynch right now with what she was saying in that promo, God, she like Big Stupid said, she's on fire right now. She's on another level right now. It is this is going to be such a good rivalry. I can't wait to see these two beat the hell out of each other in Hell in a Cell. I am really looking forward to this match. And I hope they keep this going for a while because this is a good program. This is really good. Like, just props all around to whoever has taken the turn that people were afraid meant that Becky was going to be heel and turning it into just two people who the crowd likes, both of them, who they're both willing to cheer for. Becky is kind of acting like a heel, but like, her reasoning is kind of justified to the point to where it's okay to cheer her. So I don't know. I don't think like the WWE is screwing up with what they're doing with Becky right now. I think it's all working good. Like, she's a heel by a traditional sense, but I feel like she's almost more of a tweener because, like, yeah, she did kind of heelish things, but everything she did was justified, and she backs it up with what she says. So I think maybe they might have been trying to turn her heel at the beginning, but like the way that they've course corrected and adjusted to where they are now is great. I'm trying to think what else happened before I get to the WWE title stuff. Well, actually, I'll get to the WWE title stuff now because I think the other stuff might have ended the night. We had Samoa Joe cutting another great promo about how like he succeeded in getting AJ Styles to care and spend more time about his family by threatening to go to Georgia in person, and that AJ wasn't around. But then it turned out that AJ was actually there in person and beat the snot out of Joe. But it was so good because not only did Joe cut a great promo and was AJ convincing in beating up Joe, but what I like about this is that Joe's entire point of this entire rivalry is that, and it might be an excuse for him to want to get the title and maybe play psychological warfare with AJ. But AJ, no matter what he did in this situation, played right into Joe's hands. You stay home. You prove that maybe you're a coward and he can run his mouth, which he did to his family, to AJ's family, about how he's finally spending time with his family. Or if he is there, which he was, meets him up, you can talk about how AJ is still a failure as a family man because he can't stay away. He is obsessed with Joe, just as he is with the WWE Championship and holding on to it. And he refuses to be a good father and a family man. Refuses to spend any time at home with his family or friends. Had an opportunity to spend a Tuesday at home with his family and didn't. Granted, it's because this madman Samoa Joe was threatening their livelihood, but still, it works perfectly for Joe and his psychological cerebral attack and method of getting into AJ Styles' head. This is such a good rivalry right now. And again, I cannot wait to see them go at it at Hell in a Cell. It's going to be amazing. It was so good. So damn good. As Future Street said, Joe and Styles right now is magic. And then the last thing I want to touch on with regards to SmackDown is that Daniel Bryan and The Miz stuff. It was okay. Brian and Brie were trying to find The Miz and Maurice all evening. They apparently were there. Then they were in Detroit, like at a restaurant in Detroit, and I loved the line that I love what Miz said. Makes him such a good heel. He says, "We went to one of the finest restaurants in Detroit. However, we bought out the entire restaurant so we could eat by ourselves because we didn't actually want to eat with anyone from Detroit." which was friggin' great. God, I love the Miz. I love the lines he gets and that he gets to deliver. A big stupid jumping on the Brie Bella hate train as her as a terrible actor. I thought she was fine. I don't really have a big grudge with Brie. I thought the stuff they did was good. I actually kind of liked the concern she showed sometimes during the match that Daniel had later with Andrade San Almas, which Daniel won. Although Andrade ate a kick right to the face, a yes kick to the face, because I think he was expecting to dodge the first kick and not the big round spinning kick, so he went down and got a kick right to the face. But then he corrected himself, but that was kind of funny. And then at the end of the night, Miz had a match with R-Truth. Miz went to Miz got distracted by Daniel Bryan's music. R-Truth won, and then D-Bry and Brie went down to attack Miz and Maurice, get their revenge, and then Andrade and Zelina came out, attacked them. Miz and Maurice retreated to the ramp, but then Bryan and Brie turned it around, got them both in the yes lock, so it was pretty cool. So yeah, while Raw was just awful, SmackDown was good. SmackDown was good this week, and All In, of course, which is non-WWE, was amazing. So that's pretty much it for wrestling this week. Apologize for yawning so much this episode. Again, I said no NXT or 205 Live that I'm going to be able to talk about this week. We only have one news piece, really, in the world of wrestling this week that I was able to pluck from the sheets. And apparently people asked, or Jim Ross asked Rey Mysterio, who was on the Ross Report. Well, Jim Ross said, sourcing Wrestling Inc.'s William Windsor, who I guess was talking with Mysterio, with regards to his highly anticipated return to WWE now that All In is over. And Mysterio said, and I quote, "We're still in the mix of it. We've been going back and forth talking about possibly returning this month and then this month. So the longer it extends, the more I get to work outside. That's my bread and butter. That's what I do for a living. I'm just waiting for them to say now. When they say now, if the time is right, let's go." So basically, it's a matter of if, not when, with Rey Mysterio here. Or, I mean, when, not if. So we'll see what happens when they finally hammer this out and get him back in. Hello to Lasoscope, who's in, by the way. Yeah, the Mixed Match Challenge is also coming back, but we'll keep an eye out for it. I'll say that much. And also, I believe the round of 32 of the Mae Young Classic happened as well. But I want to transition into video games because I've been talking about wrestling for a long time. There were a few games that came out this week. We are finally getting into the fall release season. First off was Destiny 2 Forsaken, which I am loving right now. I think that it has brought Destiny 2 back to where Destiny 1 was after the Taken King, if not made it as good, if not better. And this is going to be potentially maybe a new golden age for the Destiny franchise. I haven't finished everything yet, but from what I've been hearing from my clanmates, from my girlfriend, from everybody out there, and from other Destiny fans, that it's great. It just keeps being good. I'm about halfway through the storyline right now. You have to go kill all these different barons. I'm enjoying the open world. I like the random rolls. The bows are great weapons. I love the new supers. The game mode, the new game mode, Gambit, is getting a lot of positive reception. I played Gambit last week. It did get a little boring because it was only on one map for me, but there's a bunch of different maps and different things that you can fight, so I'm looking forward to more of it. They've also introduced this way to fix raids, which is great. Whenever you do raids in Destiny, in the original Destiny, and also in Destiny 2, if you wiped, you would lose any heavy ammo or super energy that you had built up before your death, before the wipe. Now they've introduced what's known as raid banners, where you can purchase them for 5,000 glimmer or 3 legendary shards, which is next to nothing. That's a very reasonable, fair thing. You buy it from a vendor. you drop it down after a wipe, and everybody regenerates their supers and their heavy ammo. So that way they can start the new round fresh with all that stuff. So that's really cool. So overall, there haven't been any reviews out from Destiny 2 because I guess outlets are waiting to, because it's an online game, waiting to play it more, waiting maybe for the first reset, waiting for the raid to drop before they drop any scores. So they're waiting on that. The big release this week, though, which dropped yesterday, was Spider-Man, Marvel Spider-Man by Insomniac Games. It is getting rave reviews across the industry. It's got an 87 Metacritic score, an 8.4 user score on Metacritic. IGN gave it an 8.7. Dual Shockers gave it a 10. I'm trying to find every single recognizable outlet. Game Informer gave it a 9.5. What else? Where is everything here? Where's all the stuff that I recognize? A lot of stuff gave it 9s. EGM gave it a 9. Shack News gave it a 9. US Gamer gave it a 9. Games Radar gave it a 9. There were only a few places that gave it lower than an 8. Only 5. The lowest score is a 6 from The Guardian. And then there's only 4 other places that offer, that I really haven't heard of much from, that offer like a 70 to 60. 4 other things that offer a 70. So it's a good one. I haven't played it. It's going to be on my backlog. It's probably going to be one of the games I'll maybe ask somebody to get for me for Christmas. Because I'm zeroed in right now on Destiny 2 Forsaken. There's some sports games I might want to get. Fallout 76 comes out in, I believe it's November, Chelsea. And then there's also Red Dead Redemption 2, which is the big game I'm really looking forward to that comes out in October. So I want to hone in on those games. And then maybe once I get through those games, plus maybe God of War finally, then I can get to Spider-Man hopefully over the winter. But yeah, if you do have the time and you are a huge Spider-Man fan, a lot of people have been really high on it. It's been getting a lot of good reviews. Go pick up Marvel Spider-Man by Insomniac. Also, apparently NBA 2K19 came out. I don't know what the reviews are because I haven't really been able to check. NBA Live 19 came out, though, and it's got a 74 Metacritic score right now, but it's only based on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 reviews right now. Game Informer and Forbes gave it a 7. IGN gave it a 7.9. Laserscope, though, has some comments for us on Live 19. He says Live 19 has been interesting to me about an undeserved audience. They finally added women create a character in the online 5 human versus 5 CPU. There's always at least one woman on your team, which is good. They're getting a hold of they're making sure that their female fans are being well represented. But the receptions are in the 70s for NBA Live 19. Blurb from IGN reviewer says, I was pleasantly surprised by how much I liked playing NBA Live 19. The core basketball game and its various modes offer plenty of chances to have a fun basketball experience. The new animation system makes action on the court look and act more realistic than ever, and the robust training gives plenty of opportunity to improve. Unfortunately, lifeless canned commentary and little in the way of capturing the feel of basketball culture holds NBA Live 19 back. In the world of basketball games, it's the Eastern Conference to 2K's Western Conference. Good, but at the end of the season, the odds are heavily in the opponent's favor. So, that's the reception on NBA Live 19. So, lots of games. If you're a basketball fan, it's a good week for you. If you're a Spider-Man fan, it's a good week for you. And if you're a Destiny fan or shooter / MMO / kind of fan, it's a good week for you. Yeah, Footballer says, what an analogy. Yeah, that's a spot-on analogy, the Eastern Conference to the Western Conference. On to regular news in gaming. Rockstar released a lot of information this week with regards to Red Dead Redemption 2. We got some story information. The Hollywood Reporter got to talk to Josh Bass, the art director of Rockstar, and Aaron Garbert, director of art at Rockstar North, about the game, and they talked about the storyline in it. Um, and they talk about Dutch Vanderlyn and the Vanderlyn gang, and they say, quote, Dutch's presence loomed over the original Red Dead Redemption, and his influence on events was a big inspiration for the setting and direction of Red Dead Redemption 2. We all wanted to know more about him and the gang. What was it like riding in the gang? What led them to the events of the original gang? What happened to them along the way? And the original gang, this sequel is going to come when the gang is at its zenith, but it's going to chronicle how the gang fell apart. As you know, in Red Dead Redemption 1, the gang has fallen apart for years. John Marston was left for dead by the gang and went on to start his own life, but wasn't able to. He was tracked down by federal agents, and they basically made him kill his old gang members. This is going to have you see how everything went from so good to so bad for the Vanderlyn gang. And to continue what they said, what Bass said, he said, in Red Dead Redemption 2, you get to see the gang, including Marston, at the peak of their notoriety and at the very moment things begin to fall apart. The story focuses on Arthur Morgan, Dutch's most trusted enforcer. Adopted into the gang by Dutch when he was a young boy, Arthur considers the gang to be his family. Dutch has given his life some much-needed purpose, and the gang has served as the one positive and constant in Arthur's life. So basically, another quote, he says, things are changing. There's not much room in a rapidly modernizing world for the gang's way of life. Through Arthur's eyes, you see events begin to take a toll on the gang as they are forced to flee across America, while at the same time, Dutch's hold on the gang begins to slip. So you're going to see the splintering of the gang as modernization is basically forcing the outlaw way of life and the wildness of the West and I don't want to say savageness, but maybe brutality and the survival and the way that how tough it is in the West gets tamed and made simpler by modernization from the East. They also released, which you can find on the website, profiles of all the characters in the gang, and there are a lot. So if you want to learn more about, they had a quote, basically an art image with a quote that basically summarizes the personality of the character, and then had a brief little character description. So if you want to learn more about Dutch Vanderlyn at this time, around this time, as well as Bill Williamson, Javier Escuela, John Marston, Jack Marston, Abigail, John Marston's wife and Jack's father, also Arthur Morgan, the protagonist, or anybody else in the gang, even Uncle, who was also in the gang and in the original Red Dead Redemption. Any of those people you want to learn more about, just go to Rockstar Games, go to the Red Dead Redemption 2 official page, and you'll be able to check that stuff out. And LaserScope said, EA did do a memorial stream this week for the victims of Jacksonville. LaserScope, if you'd be able to, I'd be willing to come back to it. I'm going to keep chugging along, but would you be able to happen to find out for me what the numbers were for how much was able to be raised in addition to the 1 million donation that EA made? If how much money was raised for the victims' families? That'd be great if you can, please. Thank you. And as we roll on, well, hopefully LaserScope or somebody does that for me in the chat. We've got some Fortnite updates. Fortnite introduced a new grapple gun, so if you haven't played Spider-Man, but you want to know what it's like to web sling, you could do that. It's a plunger with a rope. You can shoot it. It'll stick to something, and it'll pull you up. You can go horizontal or vertical. So say somebody's built a tower. That's a pretty nice tower. And you don't want to have to shoot out everything at the base of the tower to make it collapse, or build your way up on top and risk getting shot and sacrifice the vertical game, the high ground. You can use the plunger to launch yourself up there now. People have also been able to use the plunger to stick themselves to guided rockets and basically use the guided rocket as a transportation system. Each plunger grapple gun has 15 charges, so you can shoot it 15 times before it's no longer any good or empty. And you can only shoot it 6 times in succession. So it's a cool little element, cool little thing that's going to add some extra elements to how you can get the jump on people, and going to add for some more creativity to the game. They also unveiled the new getaway mode along with the high stakes update, where it's an interesting new game mode where it's basically based on squads. All the squads drop in, and there are I believe it is like vans or armored vehicles or safes, 4 safes, that are in supply drops scattered around the island. Each squad has to try and find one of those safes, get the getaway jeweled llama that's in the safe, and then make it to a van or vehicle to escape. Yeah, they have to make it to a van with the jewel to make the getaway. So there are 4 teams that can win. The 4 teams that get the jewel and get to the van win the game. So it's a really nice, interesting twist on Fortnite and takes the Battle Royale style and spins it in a little extra special way, which is cool. Fortnite also has gotten so popular that it is now a Monopoly game. So the character pieces are just like paper stands of like you've got the little plastic wedge you can stick the paper thing in, and the art is character skins from Fortnite. They have Fortnite locations on there, and there's other stuff I can read here as well. They're gonna have popular areas like Dusty Divot, Lazy Links, Paradise Palms, Tilted Towers. It's also going to feature chess, traps, and storm cards to replace the familiar aspects of the normal Monopoly game as well. So if you haven't picked up a Monopoly game in a while and you're looking for something pop culture-y, Fortnite's got it for you. And while we're on the subject of Battle Royale, Call of Duty released their first trailer for their Battle Royale mode known as Blackout. Basically just showed gameplay. They will have a storm type thing. Apparently zombies might be involved. And what they've built is this island map that has actually some familiar islands, or some familiar maps, like almost stitched together from Call of Duty history. Like the Dam will be there, Nuketown will be there, and they're all kind of like patched together. There is an image of the map with all the different places, like the Hydro Dam, the places that are named, and some of them are actually like places that have been multiplayer maps in older games. You've got Nuketown Island, construction site, Hydro Dam, a train station, asylum, turbine, factory, fracking tower, the cargo docks, array, firing range, and Rivertown. I think I might have said Rivertown already, but it looks interesting. I will say that much. It does look interesting, and I'm gonna keep my eye out for more of it. Maybe hopefully they'll release more, or I'll at least like try to keep an eye on it and read up on it when the game comes out and see if it might be actually worth giving a shot. There's going to be a beta coming up. I don't know if they listed it in here. Yes, September 10th. So on Monday there will be a beta on starting on the 10th for PS4, and the full game will be out October 12th. So very interesting. Laserscope came in with me with the update. The charity raised additional $50,000 and $60 since the $1 million donation to go towards the victims' families. That's a good story there. Not too bad. Chelsea asked if there's any new word on Kingdom Hearts 3. Nothing yet. I believe, like Laserscope said, it's early 2019, but no new trailers or information or anything like that. Other thing, Civilization 6 is coming to the Nintendo Switch. So if you're a big Civilization fan, you want that one more turn, you can take it with you on the go with Switch, which is actually both good and also kind of terrifying, because Civilization can get very addictive and you can be like, it's okay, I don't have to play one more turn, I can take it with me. But then you might miss your train stop because you're distracted trying to get in that one last turn in your Civ game. Final piece of news that I want to touch on today is that for those of you who don't know, there is a series set to be coming out by Netflix based on The Witcher. I believe it was a novel series first, followed by a series of very successful video games you may have heard of, made by CD Projekt Red, who is currently making Cyberpunk 2077, which we talked about last week. They have cast and they have finally decided on and cast their Geralt, and it is Superman himself, Henry Cavill, which I think is actually pretty cool. I think Henry Cavill's a good actor. Unfortunately, he's been given not good stuff to work with in the DCEU, which hopefully will change. But I think he would look badass as a new Geralt of Rivia. From Polygon, Netflix didn't provide many details about Cavill's interpretation of the character, which will appear in an 8-episode live-action series. And nothing, they didn't reveal anything other than the following description of the show. The character, Geralt of Rivia, a solitary monster hunter, struggles to find his place in a world where people often prove more wicked than beasts. But when destiny hurtles him towards a powerful sorceress and a young princess with a dangerous secret, the three must learn to navigate the increasingly volatile continent together. So, good stuff. Keep an eye out there. And that's going to end the show, end this episode. Now, many of you are wondering about the announcement this week for the end of the show. As I mentioned at the top of the show, D-Murph got a new job. He is now, it is now a temp position that could hopefully for him become full-time. Before it becomes full-time though, for him for the temp time that he's working it, he was originally going to be working 12 hours a day, 6 days a week. Now it's 7 days a week. So he doesn't have a day off. And for me, I have a couple plans coming up for things on Saturdays when we normally do stuff, and it's the football season. And if this week is any indication, I might be working extra hours during the football season, potentially during the week when I would like to maybe do the podcast on Fridays or whatever. I also don't get to see Saturday is going to be the only day I get to see my girlfriend. So if I have plans or something on a Saturday, I might not be able to see her. I'd only be able to maybe see her on a Friday. So with that in mind, since I've got plans the next couple Saturdays and D-Murph is going to be around, and with the football season going on, we're going to be taking, first I'll say D-Murph's current temp position is only supposed to be 1 month. It might be longer. For now, though, we are going to be, given his situation, my situation, we're going to be taking the next 2 weeks off from Super Grapple Bros. We're going to take a 2-week break. So we won't be back next week or the week after. And then we're going to see where things are. I should be able to do a solo podcast, hopefully in 3 weeks. And then there's 1 week in October when your Comic-Con's going on, because I'm going to be busy with that we may also have to take a break for a week. But we're going to take the next 2 weeks off, and then I should be back at least for a solo show. And then hopefully, D-Murph will be back by then. Hopefully not. We're going to reanalyze, look at the situation. We're going to see where we might entertain making Super Grapple Bros a bi-monthly podcast instead of a mostly weekly podcast, at least until he comes back and the craziness in the NFL season goes down. What was I going to be saying? I lost my train of thought. Wow, I really just lost my train of thought. I went blank. I was trying to read the chat. That's my bad. Yeah, like I said, we may do it bi-monthly. This is what I was thinking. I may see if I could get a friend maybe to act as a co-host, a standing co-host until D-Murph comes back. But this is the Super Grapple Bros podcast. It shouldn't be. I feel like it shouldn't be taken over by one brother all the time, every single week. And I don't know if one of the bros, one of the hosts should be a non-member of the Super Grapple Bros, if that makes sense. So yeah, we're gonna take the next 2 weeks off. And then I'll be back and we'll have more answers to you guys on how things are panning out for the situation and what we're going to plan to do for the show. I do understand that Hell in a Cell is next weekend. So for those of you who still want to do predictions for Hell in a Cell, I think what we'll do is we'll try to gather our predictions and put them in the Discord server. So join the Discord server if you haven't yet. Which is on the channel page on Twitch, show notes on audio, and video description on YouTube. and get your predictions in. We'll probably put our predictions up there in the predictions thing. Just pick winners. And when I come back for that solo podcast in about 3 weeks, I will give shout outs to whoever beat us and whoever wins out of all the viewers. So cool. I don't know. You see, the thing with his Laserscope, not only is he working a 12-hour shift, because for those of you who are listening on audio or watching back on VOD, Laserscope suggested doing audio only over the phone. The thing is that it's D-Murph is not only working a 12-hour shift, but he's working overnights. He's working 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. So when I'm getting home, he's going into work. When I'm getting home from work, he's going into work. So that's the problem there. So we won't even be able to like call each other and do stuff that way. So that's one of the big problems there. So that's the thing going on. Still get your predictions in. We'll still put our predictions into the Discord server. And we'll shout out the winners. But this is gonna be the last episode for 3 weeks. I'll be back in 3 weeks, hopefully maybe with D-Murph. I believe, let's see, 3 weeks from now. All right, so I will not be with D-Murph in 3 weeks because he's done at the beginning of October if the temporary situation doesn't get extended. So hopefully the 13th, I think New York Comic Con is the 6th when I'm going. So either the 6th or the 13th, hopefully we will both be back. But I'll be back on the 29th for another episode. So I'll see you guys in about 3 weeks. Hopefully, fingers crossed for everybody that D-Murph gets this turns to a full-time job for him, because then if it turns to a full-time job, he'll get his 2 days off a week. He'll just be working 40 hours, so it'll be good. And he is getting he is getting compensated for the time he's putting in. I'll say that much. So that's the situation. That's the announcement I wanted to make this week. Do not forget, guys, just because Super Grapple Bros will be happening in the next 2 weeks, I'm still going to be on Twitch. I'm going to be trying to do gameplay streams since I have Mondays off. I want to do a gameplay stream on Monday every single day so I can play on Mondays. I just don't know if I'm going to be able to do the podcast, because there's no point in doing the podcast on Mondays, because by the time it gets out on audio form and on YouTube, Raw will likely have already happened for the new week, so everything I will have said will be half irrelevant anyway. So that's the situation. That's the situation there. I still plan on doing gameplay streams. The aim and the goal is 1 o'clock to 4 o'clock in the afternoon Eastern time every single Monday for the next 3 months. So I will see you guys on Monday. For those of you who watch my gameplay streams, for those of you who catch the podcast, I'll see you guys in about 3 weeks. Thank you all for watching. And I gotta really quickly, I have kayfabe news up. I really gotta pick an article here. Let's see. Here's one. We're going to send you guys out. Actually, before we send you out with the kayfabe news article of the week, I didn't do the housekeeping for the end. Do not forget, you can watch us live on Twitch when we do our episodes at twitch.tv/L_Murpho. You can watch us back as well. We have every single episode highlighted in there, so that way it stays in the video library. You can watch us also on VOD on YouTube at youtube.com/LMurphoReal. You can listen to us in audio form on Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, Google Play, lots of the places where podcasts can be found. Do not forget to rate, review, and subscribe. The ratings and reviews, once we get enough, will allow people to find us by doing basic searches and whatnot. So we get access to more people, more folks to talk with and chat and engage in the conversation. Do not forget, as I mentioned before, the Discord server. Not only can you do viewer predictions, but we have a channel in the Discord server where you can give us feedback, questions, concerns, trivias, all that kind of stuff. You can also email that stuff to us if you like at supergrapplebros@gmail.com. You can also find me on Twitter at L_Murpho. DMurph is at DMurph_42. And we always like to tweet when we go live out there. I also like to make a post, an announcement on the Discord server when we go live, so you can catch us whenever we go live. That's all the housekeeping stuff. So I will send you guys out with this kayfabe news article headline of the episode, and that is: WWE has-beens and never-weres perform in pathetic non-WWE event. I used quotation marks, if you couldn't tell from the pause. So, that's it for you guys. Thank you all so much. As you know, that Kayfabe News article was ironic because all of them was awesome. Congratulations again to Cody and the Bucks. Can't wait to see what happens, what comes next. Thank you guys so much for listening or watching, and I will see you guys in about 3 weeks. Peace, deuces, the deucey deuce, all that. Laters. Bye. Bye. Bye-bye now. Bye-bye now.
Shut up and sit down.